All right, here we go. Not sure what day it is, not sure what time it is, but I know my name. It's Eddie Gray, and we're ready to go. Welcome to In the Mix with Eddie Gray, Resources for the Modern Creative, and we're here to talk about making music for TV. I'm so excited to be here because we get to talk about my favorite subject in the entire world, and that's music. All right, so I've been thinking a lot about the channel and how we can conduct ourselves and what can we do in order to best serve what I like to call the modern creative. And I have thought about it long and hard, and I'm going to do my best to try and serve beginners. Obviously, we're going to throw in some gems for all of you that are following my work and want to pick up on some tips and tricks. But the rest of the channel and all of the free resources that we have available to you can also support you with that. Now, the reason we want to do this is simply because we want to be a contribution to the music community and just really people in general and the world as a whole. So we're going to be breaking down ideas a little bit more in detail. And so if you've been looking for a resource, if you've been looking for someone to help you with how to compose music, how can I get it to sound better, how can I get it to the next level, then you have certainly come to the right place. If you're looking for more resources and support, I'm going to throw this out there. I want you to email support@hfmusicacademy.com. support@hfmusicacademy.com. And as a free gift, we're going to offer you a course that's got over 3,500 downloads to date, and it's called How to Maximize Your Desktop and Laptop CPU Performance. It's amazing. I offered this as a free resource a couple of years ago, and I'm absolutely flabbergasted that so many people have taken it on, and it's just been such an invaluable resource for so many people. So if you're looking for stability, computer optimization, if you want your DAW to work in conjunction with your computer CPU, then that's certainly the course for you. So again, free resource. Just reach out to support@hfmusicacademy.com. All right, so those are my announcements for the day. If you have any questions, do me a favor, hit me up. I've got my phone here and I'm checking every once in a while. So if you have any specifics, anything you want to hear, I'll do my best to serve you. And again, why am I doing this? Why are we taking the time out of our busy days? If you guys don't know who I am DB Me, and you will see that there's a lot of stuff that I'm up to, a lot of stuff that we're up to at hfmusicacademy.com. And so the reason we do this is simply because we remember what it was like to dream about music all day, you know, to be in a classroom and just completely be daydreaming about being on a stage, recording your music, having a new interface, buying a new plugin. And we've been blessed to such a degree that we want to make sure that we give it back. So in effect, I'm actually talking to the Eddie from a long time ago, right? I'm kind of trying to reach out to certain people that really do want the help, and they're actually hungry and they actually want it, but maybe they haven't had the proper path. And so we're here to create a path where there really was none before. So we're going to get right into it. Making music for TV, what does it look like? How do I do it? And today we're specifically going to be looking at string arrangements and how if I want my strings to sound better in a song, what are some options? What are some tools? All right, you ready? All right, let's get into it. Here we go. Well then, I'm currently drawing up a basic idea, and I'm going to go ahead and play it for you, and then I'm going to show you how I put together a real simple string arrangement that complements the song. Let's go ahead and play the song, and then we will cover how it was written, and then after that we'll go into the strings, and then finally when we're done with that, I'm going to go into a separate session, and we're going to do this from scratch, because anybody can just give you the information. Any YouTuber can just polish up a nice clean video, and that's not disrespect to anybody, but when you do it on the spot in the flesh, there's a little bit more value there, because you can see in between the lines, you can read in between the lines. And so I'm going to go ahead and press play here. Let's go ahead and listen to this song called Born in the Dark. Okay, so you understand the basic framework. Really not that complex of a song, the chord progression. It all starts with the chord progression, my friends. If you're somebody that hasn't really gotten into chords, how do I build them? What are they made up of? Let me tell you, this is something you are going to have to invest in. Invest an afternoon. Spend one evening this week trying to learn the basics of music theory, and not even music theory, because that term is kind of overblown, isn't it? When you think of music theory, if you're like me, perhaps you get intimidated. Perhaps it seems out of grasp, or I don't know. It seems like lofty, big, far-fetched. I'm not talking about that. What I'm getting into. Thank you, my friend. What's up, Eldon? Welcome. Um, what I'm getting into is, what do you feel in your heart, and why do you write music? We got to go back to a time, okay? We have to take it back to a time where there was an innocence about it and you played simply because you loved it, okay? And when you can access that place again and stop being so hard on yourself and just create for the sake of creating, then finally now we can get back into the mission. And the mission was always to what? To have fun, to enjoy yourself, to extract as much life, that you can, to access your potential, to be more, to have more. And so when you take some time to learn music theory, it could be as simple as the major chord progressions and the minor chord progressions. I can teach you this, not kidding you, probably in an hour flat. If you spend some time with me, I can teach you how to create chords, and then you won't ever have to do that again. Because when you learn something once, and when you learn it well, you don't have to do it ever again. The problem is that a lot of people, they learn something, but it's fragmented. And when it's fragmented, you could never really pick up where you left off, because you're always dropping something. You can never piece it together. You could never really fabricate the entire picture, the entire image, simply because the learning was dysfunctional. It really was not a comprehensive curriculum. So something that I do, that I pride myself on, is develop curriculums that are solid from top to bottom. They may take some time to learn. Obviously, we're not dealing with, A, B, C's and 1, 2, 3s. We're dealing with pretty heavy stuff. I mean, essentially what we're asking is, Eddie, how do we make something out of nothing? How can I take silence and how can I make something beautiful? How can I take no sound and create something magnificent that comes out of the speakers and provokes like human emotion? How can I do that? And that's not really an easy thing to answer. So all of that to say, you have to learn chord progressions. And I'm not even saying that you have to be a master of theory. If you can just learn some of the basics, you can get around and you can write a lot of songs, and you can avoid sounding bland, repetitious, cliche, perhaps, if you understand enough of it. Now, one last encouraging note before we get into the chord progression. If you know music and you've been studying it and you've been kind of trying to see what's behind all the smoky mirrors of music production as a whole, then you'll find, oh, everyone is actually writing the same chord progressions. There's only 1, 2, 3 systems in music theory, music production. And so if I just learn one, maybe 2 of them, the third one is particularly difficult. So you don't even have to learn the third system. If you just learn the most basic of systems, then you have an entire universe of possibilities that's accessible. And in fact, I want to throw something out really quick. I just saw it, and it could be helpful. I don't even have it yet, but I really actually thought it was pretty interesting. There's an OS app, so Mac only as of now. It's only available to Catalina users. It's called Klimper, capital K L I M P E R. I literally just saw it today, and I thought, wow, that looks pretty interesting for people that want to create chord progressions. So if you're somebody that wants to create chord progressions, you got to find a program. It could be Klimper. I'm also going to show you Captain Chords today, which I really like for string arrangements for various reasons, which we'll get into. But you got to have a system. You got to have a system in place. All right. So if you're really good at, let's say, playing guitar, but your string arrangement isn't on point, then this is something that you're going to have to develop. This is something that you want to keep in mind, and you need to create a system that is there to support you, or you need to collaborate with somebody that can help you take some lessons, watch some reputable tutorials, and then we'll go from there. So let's look at this chord progression. Chord progression is G minor to D sharp minor, and then again G minor, and then we go to C minor. When we go to the hook or the B section, it's pretty basic. Just goes to D minor and then C minor. So I'm actually breaking the rules of music here, but man, it sounds good. So sometimes you got to break the rules in order to create the sensation or the emotion that you're after as a whole. All right, so the chord progression originally, like I said, it started with just a basic jam. I don't have the original because this started off as an idea that I did quite some time ago, but I heard it and I thought, wow, this is a real magical progression. Check it out. Alright, so you get the point. So G, D sharp, back to G, C minor, right? And so that's the way you want to build that. Go ahead and try it out on your own. If you don't know how to play chords on the piano, try it on the guitar. And if you don't know how to do either, you can program this information via MIDI. So from what I remember, this started off as a preset in Logic called Music Box. Okay, that one right there. Maybe this one. Let me check that. Hold on. No, definitely not that one. This one sounded a bit more dry. Okay. Yeah, possibly this one. And then I used an arpeggiator. But the truth is I used a much more advanced arpeggiator called Cthulhu by X for Records. And this one is very capable as well. This is just not the one I used. But you can kind of hear the idea. It's not going to be the same one, but you can hear kind of where it started. Check it out. Okay. And like I said, I used another plugin. It's a MIDI effects plugin called Cthulhu. And this thing essentially creates arpeggiated patterns, but it also does so much more. It's such a beast, completely outside the scope of what we're up to here. But the idea is now I can create these chord progressions that I did not have before. Let me see if I can access something interesting here. Let's see what this sounds like. It's not going to play. Let's see. Nope. Should be working. Alright. Anyway, this is the plugin that I used. I'm not sure if I need to download the latest version. Try one more time. Nah, it's cool. Alright. And then I had this kind of working idea. Now from there, the first thing I started looking for was just a beat. And I wasn't really sure where I wanted to take this. There we go. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to take this, but I started sifting through samples and I found this really cool sample. Some of you may know it. Okay, so from what I remember, I changed the time, I made it fit in sequence, but then I doubled it with this guy. So that obviously doesn't sound that impressive by itself, but when you add these two together, check out this groove. Alright, so you can see that that really works on several levels. Now, if you want one of your audio tracks to fit with another track, or vice versa. If you want the groove or the feel of the MIDI to fit the audio, you can quantize to time. So quantize means, I'm just lining all of the notes up to the grid. But really the right way to do this is to use what's called groove templates, something you could do in many DAWs. So let me show you how that's done. I'm going to go ahead and select all of these regions. In fact, select them all. And I'm going to go into the region inspector, and we're going to go to quantize, and we're going to tell Logic, can you make a groove template? And so what Logic does is it analyzes all the transients, and by transients I mean all of these here, and it kind of figures out how it lines up to the grid itself. Alright, and then you take the other track that you're trying to line up in an efficient and effective way, and then we go ahead and we use that same track. So consider this the source, and consider this the MIDI, or they use the terminology the slave, and so you could use that as well, the follower in essence. Alright, and so then now these two are going to be lined up back to back. Check it out. Now remember, this is a sample, right? So when it was played played in a different way off time, and so if you don't want to use an original sample, you could then from here you could go ahead and try and find all the MIDI notes. And so right now I'm going to use a hack. Again, all of these are in focus now. I'm hitting track number 26. All of these regions are highlighted, and I'm going to hit, let me delete these, I'm going to hit Control D. And so what that's going to do is it's going to replace all of, it's going to just say the kicks, but I want to try and do everything. And so in order to do that, I'm going to play with the threshold here. So I want to try and get the snares, the hi-hats, all that good stuff. See if I can pull that off. And if we can't do it, then we're going to have to hack it some other way. Wait, this is the timing offset. Here we go. Alright, so maybe that'll do it. I think that's actually, that looks pretty good. So what am I doing? I'm extracting the MIDI from this original performance. Why? I want the groove and I want the parts. And so then I'm going to go ahead, why don't we just select something native to Logic. Do I have a drummer in here? Let's check this out. 1 second. Let's go, I don't want just the kicks, so I'm going to hover below the library. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go to acoustic drum kits. Let's just choose the first one. And this is kind of where the where the dirty work begins. This is a lot of my favorite stuff to do, in all fairness. I like, it's like, a construction worker or something. You're just getting your fingernails dirty. You are just getting all up in there and just breaking everything down to a bloody pulp. So like, I'm assuming that's the kick. I'm assuming that's the maybe that's the snare. And so I would go through the entire progression, MIDI event by MIDI event, trying to figure out what is what and trying to line it up to the grid. Now, I don't want to do that right now, as that would take me quite some time. But in all fairness, I did do it here. So that's another thing as well. Rather than breaking it down, see, I already did the dirty work before. This could be something where I just take a pre-existing part. Let's see how it translates, right? I love these little moments here specifically because none of this is rehearsed, and so I never really know what's going to happen, but I use it as an opportunity to learn with you. Let's try it out. Okay, so we got something. I think the snare is working. The first hit is not a tom, but a kind of open hi-hat. So we're looking for the open hi-hat. Alright, so now we got two parts. Here we go. All right, so then that could be part of it. We don't have any hi-hats, sounds like. Uh, these are the snares. Let's see. What is this? A kick? All right, let me see how this lines up. Hold on, I need to unmute this. All right, so we're trying to hear this together. What does it sound like? All right, so in all fairness, all I need is some hi-hats, and I can adequately create a representation of that groove. Oh, and then of course we should also use the groove template, which it's already inserted. Awesome. All right, so then looks like the hi-hats, if we think about it, they're coming in what, quarter notes, right? One, two, or I'm sorry, eighth notes. 2, 3, 4. All right, so there's various ways to do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and let's use the pencil tool. So I'm gonna select eighth notes, and if you don't know again about music notation or time or theory, just play with the settings until you get it, because that's where the real learning begins. Taking your time, dedicating yourself to the craft. This is a discipline. Do not get it twisted. This is like martial arts. Sure, you won't be able to go roll with somebody and do some jiu-jitsu, but you can make music like no other. You can at will flip a switch, turn it on, and create something that's impactful, that's memorable, that's beautiful, that's yours. So let me go ahead and find a hi-hat here. All right, and you guys, you know my style. I don't spend too much time trying to figure out the specifics. I just get. All right, wait, what's going on here? I get my hands in there, and then we figure it out after. You know what? This seems rather difficult to. Oh, it's on bar. Okay, so that is kind of confusing. So if you don't understand the fundamentals of your Cubase, Pro Tools, FL Studio, let me tell you, you're hampering yourself like no other. Please take your time to learn your DAW, because I find that there's a lot of users in general that become frustrated, and it's usually because of one of two or three things. Number one, they simply have not taken the time to properly learn their DAW. If you don't take the time to learn this, it's like you're trying to drive and you don't have a steering wheel. So do me a favor and understand the mechanics, right? Pop open the hood, really get a objective understanding of the program from a distance, so that when you get in, you can really start to work from a place of clarity and from a place of power. And when you come from that place, let me tell you, it's an entirely different experience altogether. All right, so learn your DAW. Here we go. All right, so we got the hi-hats up and running. Let's check it out. All right, so that was the wrong timing. Well, it's in the right ballpark. It's just we need more notes. So notice I selected all of them. In fact, just these, because think about it. If I hit this piano roll, I'm selecting all of these notes now. So I don't want to make any mistakes in terms of the entire project. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to drag it over, and then I think we should be ready. Let's see. All right, that sounds a little bit better. Let's go back into the inspector, key command I. Again, everything is in focus. Let me just do that one more time just to make sure, like, resets. I know that's not true, but just more of an OCD thing. Let's check it out. Could probably take the time to effectively, play with these snares and make them a little bit more realistic. What are some things you can do? Play with velocity or change the actual snare sound so that you're not hearing the same sample over and over and over and over again. So let's see if we have something. Let me see. Maybe we can go. I actually don't mind that at all. So I'm going to delete these notes, select these, and you can do this in numerous ways, but right now, just to keep it fairly simple, I'm going to hit Command C. Notice where this is positioned right after these two notes. All right, and bear in mind there's always 5 different ways to do things in most DAWs. So learn one way to start, and after you become accomplished and comfortable with that technique, learn another way, because I'm telling you, there's so many possibilities when it comes to this program, and you want to put yourself in a good position so you can do as much as you can in as little time as you can. And yeah, it really is priceless. All right, let's hear it. All right, I'm gonna play with the velocity, see if this helps at all. Doesn't sound that bad. Bear in mind, it's also going to be in the background, so we're really not going to hear this. We're going to feel it more than we're going to hear it. Let me show you what I mean. Cool. I could blend this also to just keep the realism. Let's see what this sounds like. Okay, so with that in mind, let's check this out. All right, good. So, man, so much to cover. Let me just a quick overview on everything else, and then we'll get into the strings here. So this piano here, I'm really playing the left hand on one of these, and then I'm playing the right hand in the other. Now, why do I do it this way? Well, number one, it's easier. Number two, sometimes, if you don't have that skill to get your hands on the piano, be ambidextrous in that manner, then guess what? You're going to have to use musical hacks, technical hacks in order to get you across the finish line. So the left hand is playing this, which, by the way, is really just the chord progression that you see on the right hand side. You see what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to liberate people from feeling like they have to have it all figured out. All right, somebody put out some fallacy a long time ago. I don't know who it was. I don't know what the agenda was. But let me tell you something, guys, and listen closely to what I'm saying. Okay? Before we had music as a commodity, right? American Idol, big corporations. Before music theory as a whole, somebody had to learn how to play music. Somebody had to learn how to perform that music. They weren't looking at notations and understanding this is an inversion and this is a major third or a perfect fourth. So get that stuff out of your mind, because whoever put it in there was wrong. Perhaps there's a portion of it that was correct. I always use the example that we're all looking at a volleyball that's called music, and there are various colors on that volleyball, and depending on what angle you're looking at that from, it's going to be heard and felt and experienced a certain way. So what I'm trying to tell you is if you never learned music theory and you think you're not capable, or maybe you learned music theory but you didn't learn production properly, and so you think you're not capable, or you didn't learn music theory, you didn't learn production properly, and so then now you doubt yourself and you think you can't do it. What I'm trying to say is you can do it. But because you don't do it, Because you don't take the time to get into it and you don't have a relationship with it, guess what happens? You never develop one. You never get ahead with it. You don't give it a chance, you don't give it a shot, and so you can never really move forward with your music career. You never recorded the EP. You never wrote the song that you wanted to write. So let's make a change now so that when we look back at this time, this crazy time, you can honestly say that you did something. You can come away with more, right? You can come away saying, I became more during that time. If it wasn't for that time, I don't know if I would have recorded the song, monetized my music, been on a streaming playlist, whatever the case may be. All of our dreams are so different, and all of our destinies are so different, where we're all going to end up. So I hope you understand my message. You can do it. You have to figure out how. Your way is not going to look like my way, okay? I just want to make that clear. Your way will not be like me. Do not try and be like him, like her, like it. Be you. Figure out what that is. And if you don't invest the time, you're never going to find out. You'll simply be a carbon copy of somebody else, somebody else's techniques, somebody else's viewpoints and vantage points. I want you to take my information. This is why I'm here. But it's simply not going to be enough. To get started, as you guys already know, I like to take from different people, and I commit heavily when I do. All right? I've been doing this for almost 7 years, and in 7 years, I have conquered the music licensing industry. If you don't know, now you know. And after you take the time to really learn from various people, and make sure they're not too big, because sometimes it feels like just too far-fetched, then you start to develop your own voice, your own sound, your own philosophy. And then when you do that, you can stand on your own 2 feet and you can make the music you want to make. Let's get back into it. All right. So I'm just following the chord progression here. So it's like I'm playing a bass, right? G, D sharp, G to C. Now notice I have a really nice delay on there. It's pretty sweet. Love the way that sounds. I think I got that from here. It's a nice tape delay. I'm bussing it. And if you want more information, how do I learn this stuff? How do I do it? Check us out at hfmusicacademy.com. hfmusicacademy.com. All right. So then from there, I'm just playing with my right hand on a separate track a basic melody that is just going up, giving you a sense that it's being lifted. And a lot of this really is just experimentation. I'll kind of just put something, on paper, just try it out, and I'll start moving these MIDI notes around. For those of you that can't, really hear the difference, I would highly recommend a transposer plugin with the default Can't Go Wrong. I would highly suggest that. And then, of course, take the time to learn the theory and how it works. But really develop an ear. That's kind of the main thing. So I'm going to go ahead and press play here. So it's interesting, when we listen to that by itself, it sounds rather positive and optimistic and uplifting, but with the progression, check it out. Alright, I like that a lot. Okay, bass and drums. Let's listen to that. Check this out. Alright, so if we go into the bass line just for a quick sec here. Oops, let me get into that. Command A, Z, okay. So we're taking a close look. And really what I'm doing is I'm just playing a game with the drums. You'll notice that the drums will play and the bass is kind of weaving in and out in order to create a groove, an experience, a ride. Okay, check it out. And here we could do something like this where we raise this up an octave, right? We have this interesting kind of octave jump. Check it out. So a random tip here, rather than stepping up from here to here to here, you can also swing up by way of a pitch wheel. Okay, so I'm gonna mute this, and I understand this may be a little much for some people, but these are all available for playback. These videos will be here, so I'm just trying to move at the best pace possible for everyone here. So I'm using what's called a pitch bend, and I'm doing this just so that by the time that the note gets to the end of the progression, I can go ahead and create kind of the effect that it's sliding up, even though this is MIDI, right? I'm just playing with the note, so it's almost like you're stretching out the note. That's the impression that one will get. Let's check it out. Okay, hold on. This needs to reset to 0 though, so that can be confusing sometimes when you're new to automation. Make sure that everything is reset to 0 because everything was out of pitch there. So here, this should sound a little bit better. And maybe that was too much of a slide too. I'm very arbitrary when I do this stuff. I just try it out. If it sounds good, we'll stick with it. If it doesn't, then we move on. Let's see. Yeah, let me go ahead and bring that down a little bit. I want it to be really subtle. It's a game of subtlety, my friends. Game of subtlety. Yeah, I like it. Maybe one more down. Okay, for now, if I need to come back, I'll come back. You know what? I need to remember which region that was, simply because I don't know if I repeat myself. Let me close the piano roll, key command P, and I'm going to highlight this, hit Z. Alright, so it looks like I played that during the second half. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this over. Alright, let's check this out. Wait a minute. Hold on. All right, cool. All right, so you could see just little things that you do to make the composition better as a whole. Everything's sounding good. Got an interesting, captivating performance that can hook a listener, that can get you some attention, that can get you licensed. We have a pretty exceptional melody that paints a perfect picture, right? What are we dealing with emotionally here? Somebody's scared. So this is a mysterious feeling. Anything having to do with dark, this fits in quite well in that regards. And obviously it has a modern bend to it, so it is kind of in that urban world because you got the drums in there. And so this is all sounding pretty good. Let's get into the strings. All right, so string arranging as a whole really is no joke. In other words, it requires some time. I would love to see more people take it on and feel confident, and so it's a necessary practice if you're really going to get out there. And so what I'm doing here is something real simple. I'm just separating the chords. So I'm separating in fact, let me mute this one. I'm separating the various parts to just give me, a better sense of what is what. And this is not the orchestra, but it's yeah, a chorus. There you go. So it's people singing essentially. All right. So let me show you how I did it, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. So I'm gonna open up the track. Now the way that I started the idea was I went into Captain Chords. If you do not know this wonderful plugin, it serves as a MIDI effects plugin, right? And it also is an instrument. So it's a third-party instrument that you can use in Logic and Ableton, Pro Tools. And what it does is it gives you an opportunity to quickly write chord progressions or to create secondary voices or secondary parts that really fit and create something, of depth. And so again, the chord progression is here, right? So all I did was I just started drawing it up. So this was G minor, and then this was D sharp, which is the equivalent of E flat, right? So I'm just trying to kind of figure out what to do, how to make this work. And what's great now about Captain Chords, which wasn't available before, is that you can actually edit the MIDI. So for example, I have a pretty uncommon chord progression here. You see how we have D minor, but it's my progression is D sharp minor. So there was no real way of actually finding that chord. You can customize it here, okay, and you would just write that in. And what I did was I just started drawing the note. So I would just move this thing around, and so I was able to come across something that sounded fairly nice. Here, check this out. Let me play this. Okay, so once I got that idea, then I was able to grab the MIDI and pull it down and start to work with the project as a whole. Alright, when you're done with it, if you're using it as a MIDI effects, you want to go ahead and turn it off, because otherwise you're going to have this MIDI and this MIDI playing. It's kind of like a step sequencer. If you've ever played with Ultra Beat, you kind of have to turn it off in order to really start using it. Yeah, so that's off. And so then all I did from here was really just find different voices. So here are some violins that I found that I thought were really nice. Check it out. Okay, and then I added the stepchild of the string family. This is a viola, and so I like this particular register to thicken things up. Sounds really guttural, organic. Sounds kind of nasty in a good way. Here, check it out. Okay, if you want the chords to stretch out a little bit further, you can go ahead and do this here where you re-lengthen the note and you go over the other region. That's very much possible, but another recommendation that might work a little bit faster is to use an delay plugin or an echo plugin, which is really the same thing. And what you do is you just stretch out the part. So let me show you what I mean. Settings are very subjective based on whatever it is you're playing. So let me just try and set it in such a way where we don't really hear it end. We hear it transition, but we don't really hear the note stops. Usually it works on quarter note, so let's give that a go. And again, this is exactly another reason, my beginners out there, this is another reason why you really need to learn music theory. You need to understand the musical time division and how it plays a significant part of music production as a whole. If you don't know the theory, guess what? You're really going to be really kind of backwards. Like, how can you effectively create something if it's in your mind, in your heart, if you don't understand it technically, right? I don't want you to be all feel, but I don't want you to be, a brainiac. I don't want you to just think about music like mathematics, because that's not what music is. You don't turn on Flume or Dead Mouse or whatever, Muse, and think about it technically. You feel it, right? It gets you going. The melodies, the harmonies, the emotion. So if you do yourself a favor, take the time to really understand time division as well. So we have to know a little bit about music theory. We have to know a little bit about the musical time and how these two parts play and how they work together when it comes to music production. And that's really it. Now, of course, the other side of it is you have to learn the DAW, in my case, Logic Pro. You guys know I'm an Apple certified T3 trainer. I just developed the curriculum for LearnQuest, who's an Apple training provider. And I love Logic. I love the program. I'm all about it. I'm in it every day. Okay. And then the other side of that was mixing and mastering, production as a whole. It's a lot of stuff to learn. So perhaps you take a month, 2 months, and you really learn the DAW first. You want to read the manual, go ahead, watch some reputable tutorials, but you have to learn your instrument. So you don't play guitar anymore, you don't play piano. What you do is you play your DAW. You are an Ableton player. Okay, that's what you do. That's how you perform. Because this tool will in effect allow you to generate your ideas. It'll literally allow you, if you're capable, if you're exceptional, when you're ready, it'll allow you to make the music that you've been dreaming of making, right? So the DAW is important. But you also have to treat the music in such a way where it sounds robust, it sounds professional. It sounds like it's, dreamy. It sounds majestic, sensational. It comes out of the speakers and you're like, wow, what is that? Who is that? Then they look you up. Oh, that's so and so. Let me hire them. And then you get a big fat check, which is definitely what we want, right? And then again, the other two sides, if you don't know how to technically, so once you learn the DAW, once you learn how to produce, and by the way, these two can take a little bit of time. Learning a DAW can take a week, 2 weeks, a month. Production, a little bit longer. I don't want to put any time limits on you. I'm not going to do that, but it's going to take a little bit longer just because there's so many concepts. Within that framework, there's 4 concepts: EQ, compression, space, which I consider to be reverb and delay, and then the concept of imaging. So that's a whole nother universe, a whole nother topic. Okay, and then the musical. Well, let's go into music theory. How are chords built? How can I create a story using a chord progression? Right. If we think about an arc, right. Story starts, right? Boy meets girl, girl meets boy, fall in love. There's a major conflict, and they live happily ever after. How can I do that with my music? Nobody wants to watch a movie that is just like a husband and wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend just cleaning their house, right? Nobody wants that. That's not interesting. This is the reason why every single movie you've ever seen has some major conflict and conflict resolution. So in the same way, you got to learn the theory so you learn how to create conflict, how to create conflict resolution. You're telling a story. So if you're just going with it and you're just always flying by the seat of your pants, guess what? You're going to get lucky sometimes. But just like Bob Marley said, you can fool the people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. Man, where's this energy coming from? Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. All right, so then let's go back in here. And then lastly, Sorry, guys. I'm just having a good time here. And then lastly, the musical time division. Because once you can create that story, right, the feeling, then you need to create the rhythm to support the feeling. So hopefully you understand the message here, what I'm trying to do, how I'm trying to do it. I love you guys. I respect you so much. You have no idea. I am you. Before the awards, before I won the remix contest, before all the big contracts, before everything, before Apple, before I signed and sold a deal to Beat Academy, I sold a course to them rather, I was you. Just trying to make it, just trying to figure it out. And so, with all that being said, let's put some delay on some strings, shall we? Here we go. All right, so we're just trying to cover them up a little bit. Feedback depends where you want to put it. I'm just going to start here. Again, a lot of it's just like, we're going to try it out, see what it feels like. Here we go. All right, you see what I mean? It's covering it up a little bit. All right, before. See, there you can hear it stop. There's a definitive moment when it actually stops. Check it out. Now we're going to cover up that simple little moment. It could be heavy-handed or simple. I like it simple. That's just me. And this is literally the same chord progression as this. I'm not doing anything different. I believe I changed one note on this one. And so here I have a kind of chorus. Maybe it's just one voice. Let me listen. And so the same trick can be applied here. And in all fairness, it probably won't need it just simply because everything else will envelop the sound. So here, let's check this out. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Let me just check this chord progression. I think there was one note that was different here. Yeah, you see that? I changed. Hold on. You guys want to see a cool trick? Hit me in the comments if you want to see a cool trick. I'll give you 5 seconds. Countdown. If you want to see a cool trick, 5 seconds. 4, 1003, 1002. Oh, don't miss out. Okay, all right, fine. All right, so I'll show it to you anyway. How about that? All right, here we go. If you're editing strings, all right, and you want to be able to look at various regions at the same time, have a more comprehensive way of editing a string arrangement, right? Violins, violas, perhaps you have like a cello, right? There's a couple string pieces. We can talk a lot more about string arrangement as well. I have so much planned for this channel, you guys don't even know. So if you like the content, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, show me some love, and I will give it back. So here's a great trick. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and select this particular region, and then I'm going to color it, right? So it's yellow. Then this one I will change to another color. All right, so just bear with me. I'm hitting Option C, and we're changing the color. I'm going to go ahead and do something drastically different, and then we're going to do the same on track number 58. And here I'll go. Let's go blue. Okay. So I've got all these three selected. Now, based on the MIDI velocity, I really don't know what the difference is, right? It all just looks like a big smorgasbord of information. So with that being said, if you go to view, if you go into set note color, you say by region color. Okay, and then when you do that, check this out. Isn't that nice? Now I can discern, okay, which ones are the pinks, which ones are the yellows, right? And which ones are the blues. Now it looks like the blue and pink are pretty much, yeah, facsimiles, right? They're just the same. Yep. Okay, cool. Just an octave down, right? So that's pretty common when it comes to string arrangement. You want to take the violins, could be the first violins or the second violins. You want to bring those up an octave, and then the violas, not always, but usually support the violins an octave below. So that being said, I had an opportunity to use a chorale, right? I thought we needed a different kind of voice, and so this is pretty much the same voicing here, except when we get to that last part, I decided to change it. It could have been as simple as just bringing this down by one octave. Let me check. No, it's so that was the first thing. Um, it's up one octave, and then we change this note to this note. So when we listen to those two notes together, we get, let me see if I can play those real quick. So we have D sharp. So you can see that there's a lot of tension there, and there's a lot of there's a yearning to be released, right, when we hear these notes. But then we get the chance to do that when we come back to this chord. So let's listen to that together. Check it out. Let's do it this way. Okay. Do you get it? Is it making sense? Take a breath, drink some water. There was just, a couple points in there that could have been kind of a bit much for some of you, not for all of you certainly. So go ahead, write down notes. It's very important. It's not enough to passively listen to somebody. This is one of the reasons that I like to stand up for the most part when I work, because you're really involved. You're really emotionally and physically kind of in it. So if you need to watch this over, do it. There's a lot of good information in there. It doesn't have to be complicated, right? This part is merely supporting the rest of the song. This is not a make or break. It's merely supporting the song as a whole. Here, listen. So sometimes you want to write something that stands out, that's magnificent, that's brilliant, but you can't get there unless you write the basic stuff first. Okay, so start learning chords, chord progressions. Start learning how to write string arrangements that are simple enough, interesting enough, basic enough, and I think that will pay off in dividends. So if you guys have cool. There it is, Sarah Johnson. Love what you. Yep. Thank you very much, Sarah Johnson. Much love, much respect. I really appreciate you being here. I've seen you on the channel a couple times, so shout out to Sarah Johnson. I have a deadline that I have to hit. So unless we have any other questions, any comments, I'm gonna go ahead and get to work. So I'm going to go ahead and start closing up. If I see any more questions, I'll answer them. But again, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate the the podium, the opportunity, the stage to be of service. That's really the main thing. You know, I'm getting to this point in my life where you really start to see what it's all about, what you're all about, and I just want to give. I just want to contribute. I've been so blessed this week, guys. To all my supporters, you guys wouldn't believe it, but I've had the blessing to upgrade my studio in the most magnificent way. So I will be upgrading my studio very soon. You guys are gonna see it's a whole nother level, and so I feel like indebted in terms of giving back, because so much is being given my way that I have to give back. So every Monday and Wednesday, so long as I can, I'll be on here 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Central Time. If you want more information, do me a favor, support at hfmusicacademy.com. You can also go to the website. We have a newsletter where we offer so many free resources. You don't necessarily have to pay. If you want to become a member of what we're up to, that's an option as well, and we're helping a ton of people. But you don't have to. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking to be a factor, an X factor, in fact, in your creative and emotional life. So thank you guys very much. I'm gonna get out of here, and wishing you the very best. And I will see you next Monday, where we will continue to talk about writing music for TV and analyzing music and trying to figure out how we can get better one brick at a time. Oh, and also, to complete the conversation, I said I was going to get into another song, but you know, as always, I get so locked into these concepts that I want to share in such an in-depth way, and I want to make sure that I give you guys the information in the right way. So with that being said, I will get out of here. Take good care of yourselves, and remember to keep your frequency high. We'll see you guys later. Take good care of yourselves. Stay up.